I'm 78 years old. I still pause when I say that. Not because I forget it, but because it feels heavier than it used to. The number sits differently now. Like it carries more behind it than ahead of it. This morning, I stood in front of the bathroom mirror longer than usual, not studying myself, just standing there. The light was soft, the kind that hides nothing but doesn't accuse you either. I noticed how my face has learned to rest a certain way. Calm, neutral, familiar, as if it has practiced being composed for a very long time. I realized something then, something that has been following me quietly for years. I spent so much of my life being who they needed, not all at once, not deliberately. It happened slowly, naturally. So naturally that I didn't even realize I was doing it. When I was young, people used to say I was dependable, that I was strong, that I was the kind of person you could count on. I wore those words like a badge. I thought that's what a good woman was supposed to be. Someone who adjusted, someone who filled the gaps, someone who noticed what needed to be done before anyone else had to ask. It felt good to be needed. It still does, in some ways. But I didn't understand the cost at the time. I grew up watching my mother move quietly through her day, cooking, lining, listening, always listening. She rarely talked about herself. If she did, it was usually in relation to someone else. What my father needed, what the kids needed, what the neighbors were going through. I remember asking her once what she wanted, just casually. I was a teenager, maybe. She smiled, the way people do when they don't want to answer a question directly, and said she wanted everyone to be okay. I didn't think much of it then. I thought that was love. I carried that understanding with me into my own life. I married young, not unusually young for the time, but young enough that I hadn't yet learned how to listen to myself. My husband was a good man, hardworking, serious. He had plans. He knew what he wanted, or at least he sounded like he did. I admired that. I thought certainty was something you were supposed to borrow if you didn't have it yourself. In the early years, we talked a lot about his work, his stress, his worries. I listened. I offered reassurance. I learned how to make things easier for him. I didn't think it as sacrificing anything. I thought of it as being supportive. When he asked me what I wanted, I usually said I didn't mind. And most of the time, that was true. Or at least it felt true. I had learned how to shape my wants into something small and flexible. Something that wouldn't cause trouble. We had children. And like most mothers, I shifted again without thinking about it. Their schedules became my schedules. Their moods became the weather of my days. I learned how to anticipate needs before they were spoken. A forgotten lunch. A bad dream. A quiet sadness that didn't have words yet. I became very good at that. At noticing. At adjusting. At stepping in quietly, so everything kept moving. People praised me for it. They said I was patient. Selfless. Strong. I believed them. What no one said was that I was slowly disappearing inside those roles. There's a moment that comes back to me sometimes. I was standing in the kitchen, stirring something on the stove. One of the children was talking to me. I don't remember what they were saying. I just remember nodding, answering automatically, my mind already on the next thing that needed doing. And suddenly, I had this strange thought. It came out of nowhere. I wondered what I would do if no one needed me for a whole day. The thought unsettled me. I felt guilty for even having it, as if wanting space meant I was ungrateful or selfish. I pushed it away and kept stirring. That's how most of my life went. Small questions appearing, then being quietly dismissed. Years passed. Children grew. They needed me less. That's how it's supposed to be. I knew that. I was proud of them. But when they started making decisions without me, something shifted. I told myself I was relieved. And in some ways I was. The days were less hectic. The house quieter. But there was also this unfamiliar space inside me. A space I didn't quite know how to fill. My husband and I had more time together then. We sat across from each other at the table, drinking coffee in the mornings. Sometimes we talked. Sometimes we didn't. I realized, slowly, that so much of what we shared had revolved around other people. Other needs. When those needs faded, we were left with ourselves. I don't think either of us knew what to do with that at first. He passed away a few years later. Not suddenly, but not slowly either. Illness has a way of narrowing the world. Hospital rooms. Quiet conversations. Decisions made when you're tired and scared and trying to be practical. After he was gone, people told me how strong I was. How well I handled everything. I nodded. I thanked them. I did what needed to be done. Inside, something felt unmoored. It wasn't just grief. It was the absence of direction. For so long, my sense of purpose had been tied to responding, to supporting, to being available. Without that, I felt strangely undefined. I remember standing in the grocery store one afternoon, staring at a shelf longer than necessary. There was no one waiting for dinner. No preferences to remember. No schedule to follow. I could buy whatever I wanted. And I didn't know what that was. That moment scared me more than I expected. I think that was when I began to understand something, though I didn't have the words for it yet. That I had spent years shaping myself around other people's needs until my own had become unfamiliar. I don't blame anyone for that. No one asked me to disappear. I offered myself willingly. I thought that was what love looked like. Friends would ask me what I planned to do now, after the kids were grown, after my husband was gone. I gave vague answers. Travel, maybe. Classes. Volunteering. Things that sounded reasonable. But there was a deeper question underneath all of it. One I avoided. Who was I when no one needed me to be anything? I tried a few things. Joined groups. Took up hobbies. None of it felt wrong, but none of it felt like me either. It was like trying on clothes that fit well enough, but didn't belong to your body. I think we get this wrong when we're younger. Especially women of my generation. We think being needed is the same as being known. We think that if people rely on us, they must see us. But being useful and being understood are not the same thing. There were parts of me that never had a chance to develop because they weren't required. Curiosities I set aside. Preferences I didn't voice. Opinions I softened so they wouldn't create friction. I don't say that with bitterness, just with clarity. One afternoon, my daughter asked me what I used to dream about when I was young. She asked casually, not realizing the weight of the question. I opened my mouth to answer and realized I didn't know. Or maybe I had known once and forgotten. The silence stretched. She looked at me, waiting. I laughed it off. said something about family, about wanting a good life for my kids. She smiled and accepted it. But later, alone, I sat with that question, and it stayed with me. I think endurance can start to feel like virtue if you live long enough. You learn how to carry things without complaint. You learn how to adapt so well that you forget there were other options. And then one day, when things finally slow down, you notice how tired you are. Not in your body. In your sense of self. I don't regret my life. I want to be clear about that. I love my family. I still do. I don't wish I had lived without them. But I wish I had known that being who they needed didn't have to mean abandoning who I was. That realization came late for me. It came quietly. Not as a dramatic moment. More like a slow settling. Now, at 78, I'm learning how to sit with myself without rushing to fill the space, without apologizing for it. Some days, that feels peaceful. Other days, it feels like loss. The loss of years I could have spent knowing myself better. I notice small things now. What kind of music I prefer when no one else is listening. How I like my tea. What kind of silence feels comforting, and what kind feels empty. These discoveries might seem small, but they feel significant to me. Like meeting someone I've known for a long time, but never really spoken to. There are moments when I think about the younger version of myself. The one who believed that being good meant being accommodating, that being loved meant being indispensable. I don't judge her. She did what she knew how to do. She lived in a world that rewarded that kind of quiet strength. But I wish she had known that she was allowed to take up space too. Not loudly, not selfishly. Just honestly. Time has a way of narrowing your focus. At this age, I don't feel pressure to prove anything. That's a relief. I also feel the weight of what's already passed. That's unavoidable. I don't know how many years I have left. I don't think about that in numbers. I think about it in mornings, in evenings, in how often I choose myself now. Even in small ways, being who they needed shaped my life. It gave it structure. It gave it meaning. But it wasn't the whole story. I'm only just beginning to understand the parts that were left unwritten. I'm 78 years old. I don't need to be everything anymore. I don't need to hold everything together. I can sit here now, in this quiet, and let myself exist without being required. That feels unfamiliar. And also, finally, like mine.